So when doing eyes, it's really, really easy. Obviously, we're not going to use the eyes that we might make inside Painter because they're going to be too dense. So we'd make a copy or a version inside of Maya, or if you know how to do it inside of ZBrush, you make a lower poly eye inside there. Either way, you just need an eye. It needs to be in the exact same size and position as your original. But to actually UV an eye, it's very, very simple. The UVs that we get from the beginning aren't good, and what we need to do is work with the pole of the eye here. We need to work with the pole. We don't want to be texturing on the side of the eye here. You want to texture here. It just gives you a better result, that's all. So what I'm going to do is UV it, and UVing is really simple. I'm just going to planar project it from the front like this, and you could technically leave it like this. I have seen some really, basic eye UVs. I sometimes see eyes in games that are like this. They take the back off, so it's literally just going to be this. But essentially, what they do is just UV like that, because you're not really, unless you're you're taking the eye out of a character, and you're going to see it really, really close up. The eye will stay where it is all the time. So really, that's all we really need. And if anything, I might just hit it with a bit of a unfold like this, but generally, I just leave it like this. And then put that on, obviously, your head UV space. So I'd put it inside, like, in here somewhere. I do tend to scale the eyes up a little bit bigger than what they should be, because eyes are beautiful things and they're the windows into the soul, or that kind of jazz. So we want to make sure that we're serving them as best we can. So I might have one eye, have the eye UVs share the exact same space, so that you're just pulling off the exact same information. Or if you want to, you can literally just duplicate the eye. Obviously, have one either side, and then just obviously have one like that, and do something like that. I don't know. I keep looking over there, and have something like that. It's as simple as that. And then on top of there, obviously, you just texture the eye. One thing I would absolutely avoid is do not texture the eye white. Eyes are not white. Eyes look white because if you think about, you get that grey square being surrounded by colours of different tones. Depending on the colours or tones, it looks brighter or darker. Eyes are more of a creamy, sandy kind of colour, and oftentimes they're slightly influenced by the person's skin surrounding it or the age. If we look at that Daniel Boschung website, you'll see a lot of the eyes. They're not white. They're this kind of creamy, beigey kind of colour, but then you'll have to have a lot of reddening. For older people or someone who's not well, will have a lot of reddening. You might just have, maybe it's like an ethnicity thing, where they have a little bit of almost like colour imparted into the eyes because of the surrounding area, so they look a bit darker. The reason why we don't want to have them white is because that's very stylistic, and it also, on a real person, a realistic character, it makes them look like terrified. You see too much white of the eye. So yeah, just pay attention, observe. I'm not really going to do any type of painting techniques or anything like that for eyes. Just observe eyes. That's all you really need to do for it. Observe them. See how big the iris and the pupil are compared to the rest of the eye. How much you see. If you do make the iris and pupil too small, again, what you get is like that stylized fear eye, where you see too much of the white of the eye. And if you make them too big, where you see very little white, then they just look stoned. So really look at the balance between what you do see of the white of the eye and what you don't. And obviously I'm using the word white of the eye because that's what people say, the white of the eye. But remember, they're not actually white. So actually UV in eyes is literally as simple as that. That's all we really need to do. And obviously to make sure they're sharing the exact same position in the eye. We shouldn't be merging or blending or dynameshing our eye into our head because they're not flesh. They're a completely different kind of thing. So they need to be free floating. Okay, cool. Nice and short one. Dead simple. See you in the next one.